The 1971 Citroen DS20 sedan didn't look like a car trying to follow the early 1970s. It looked like the future had arrived early, then stayed long enough for the rest of the world to catch up. The 71 Citroen DS20 sedan history begins with a question that still makes the car fascinating. Was the DS an aging design by 1971, or was it still one of the most advanced sedans on the road? It used hydropneumatic self-leveling suspension, it carried front-wheel drive and aerodynamic thinking into executive car territory, and even near the end of its long production life, it still felt more daring than many newer sedans. This is Scholar of the Roads on Two Guys and a Ride. By 1971, the Citroen DS had already been on the world stage for more than 15 years. Most cars lose their sense of shock after that much time. The DS had done something different. It kept asking the same question it asked in 1955. Why should a sedan accept the old rules? The DS20 did not answer with raw horsepower or luxury theater. It answered with ride height, hydraulic pressure, front-wheel drive, aerodynamic shape, and a cabin that felt unlike the sedans parked beside it. The DS was never only a car. It became a French statement about engineering imagination after World War II. Flaminino, Bertoni, and André, and I'm going to butcher these names, Lefebvre, shaped the original car, while Paul Magis developed the hydropneumatic self-leveling suspension that made the DS feel so different. That matters because the DS did not treat comfort as softness. It treated comfort as technology. The suspension, braking feel, steering behavior, and body shape all worked together to create a new kind of executive sedan. It felt composed because Citroën built it around a system, not a collection of features. The 71 DS20 set in the latter DS period. After the 1967 redesign by Robert Opron, that update gave the car a more modern nose and in many markets covered headlights and directional lighting. Regulations changed details from market to market, which is part of the DS story. Here's why it mattered in the moment. The car's core idea was already older, yet the shape still looked advanced. A Mercedes-Benz 220 sedan felt formal. A BMW 2500 felt sporting and conventional. A Peugeot 504 felt more mainstream. The DS20 felt like the Citroën had refused to obey the room. Look at the DS20 in profile, and you'll understand why people still talk about it. The long wheelbase, low nose, tapering rear body, narrow rear track, and flowing fenders gave it a teardrop stance. It didn't look like it had been drawn with straight-edge logic. The fastback sedan body created motion even when parked. The large glass area and slim roof structure made the cabin seem light. The covered or market-specific headlight treatment gave later cars a more integrated face. The design felt aerodynamic before aero became everyday language. The DS20 used a 1985cc inline 4. Now, published DS20 specifications list the output at 98 horsepower and about 112 foot-pound of torque. However, those figures tell you something important about the car. The DS20 wasn't trying to win the decade with power. Its significance came from how it moved, rode, stopped, and carried itself. This is one of the honest complexities of the story. The engine was modest while the car around it felt extraordinary. This is where the DS becomes more than a shape. Its hydropneumatic suspension gave the car self-leveling ride behavior and a road feel few 71 sedans matched. The hydraulic suspension also supported braking, steering, clutch, and transmission functions depending on the model and specification. That choice left a mark. It made the DS feel like a machine with its own internal logic. You did not have to drive it like a conventional sedan and then notice a smoother ride. You entered a Citroën way of thinking where pressure, height, movement, and control became part of the experience. Inside, the DS20 followed the same philosophy. Analog gauges, Citroën-specific controls, broad visibility, and an airy cabin created a different relationship on the road. This was not a car built around imitation. Rear passengers mattered too. The DS served as an executive sedan, and its reputation for passenger comfort came from the way the entire car moved over the road. It did not isolate people through bulk, it isolated them through suspension intelligence. The DS20 makes the most sense when you place it next to its contemporaries. The Mercedes-Benz 220 carried traditional German formality. The BMW 2500 brought a sportier, more familiar rear drive layout, and the Peugeot 504 offered French durability and a simpler mainstream personality. So, which car looked most like tomorrow in 1971? The answer is why the DS still matters. It was no longer new, yet it forced rivals to look conventional. This is a rare kind of influence. The DS did not need to be fresh to feel challenging. The second honest complexity, its age. By 1971, the DS platform was moving toward the final stretch of production run that would end in 1975. Citroen had built the DS and the ID family in large numbers, with total production listed at more than 1.45 million cars. That makes the DS20 different from a fragile rarity story. Its significance did not come from scarcity. It came from staying power. The car reimagined meaningful because its ideas had enough strength to survive changing decades, changing regulations, and changing taste. The 71 DS20 sedan came to represent an argument about progress. Progress does not always mean more cylinders, more size, or more ornament. Sometimes it means solving the familiar problem from a completely different angle. That's why the Citroen DS hydropneumatic suspension still carries so much weight in automotive memory. It gave the car its identity. The DS20 was not the fastest DS, and it was not the final word in the range. It was a clear example of how far the original idea could stretch. By 1971, it was both old and futuristic. That contradiction is the point. The 71 Citroen DS20 sedan mattered because it proved advanced thinking could outlive fashion. It stayed relevant because its shape, suspension, and hydraulic systems offered something more enduring than novelty. The DS20 reminds you that the future does not always have to arrive with noise. Sometimes it glides in quietly, levels itself, and leaves every ordinary sedan looking a step behind. This has been Scholar of the Roads, where history meets horsepower and every mile tells a story. Please give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching.